on, we're picking up details minute by minute, closely following the situation. But what do you make of this kind of an attack, an assassination attempt on the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe? We are being told that the suspect has been arrested. He's a 41-year-old, but he surrendered to ground.
Yeah, it's very unbelievable, shocking. This is not something heard in Japan. Maybe first time in the new generation, maybe. Even I'm here 20 years and I never heard of something like this. There is no violence in this country. So it's very, very, very shocking, actually. And the two very peaceful people and very strict gun control. And a leader like Shinzo Abe shot dead on a broad daylight. I think all Japan is panicked. Almost entire Japan is panicked. That's the ground reality. Nobody, this is unheard of here. And motive is still not known, but whatever it is, can't believe actually.
Yes. It certainly has shocked everyone, sudden news of him being shot at while he was delivering a speech. Sir, if I could, also talk about, since we're all deliberating upon the major shift in Japan's foreign and domestic policies that seek to revive its militarism past, let me take that to Captain Alok Bansal, who is also with us on this broadcast. Sir, we're talking about, an increase in militarization across Japan. Much of it was introduced by Shinzo Abe itself. Now, many see this as, a devastation to Asia Pacific, and also how this has brought in notorious confrontation-oriented NATO to the region as well, and it calls for vigilance among countries in the region. Now, whether or not there is an internal hand at play, an external hand at play, perhaps a Chinese hand remains to be seen, but of course, questions are coming to light and are being asked of the kind of radical changes that were brought about during his tenure.
See, there is no doubt that Mr. Shinzo Abe actually brought Japan towards becoming a normal state. His aggressive economics, his aggressive nationalism, it may have troubled some of those countries which have in the past been afflicted by Japan's militarism, maybe China, maybe Korea or other countries in Southeast Asia, because these are the countries which often protest even when Japanese Prime Minister or Japanese leaders visit Yakushini Shrine, which is a shrine dedicated to Japanese martyrs. So that shows the level of sensitivities. Now, who is this man? Why? What was his motive? At this juncture, it is still difficult. But obviously, one of the motives that could be because to attack a former prime minister who had voluntarily given up the seat because of his ill health, it does not stand to any logical reasoning. The only reason that could be that Shinzo Abe was the one who actually wanted to bring Japan out of that perpetual pacifist mode that Japan had got into for decades. So I think somebody who felt that probably this militarism is not going to help. So maybe the countries like China, South Korea, or any Southeast Asian country which have been afflicted in the past. In fact, we have seen whenever their Japanese Prime Minister visited Yakushini Shrine, there have been protests out in front of Japanese embassies in these countries. So these countries are extremely sensitive as far as Japan's militarism is concerned.
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Madhavan, and as for India is concerned, India has also been extremely supportive of the kind of aggressive steps, decisions that have been taken by Shinzo Abe, though, while he served from 2006 to 2007, the Prime Minister, and again from 2012 to 20, he did aim throughout to revise the Supreme Charter during his tenure. He'd in fact called for clarifying the legal status of countries' self-defense forces as well, by explicitly, of course, mentioning it in the Constitution. So some of the very bold, radical decisions that were taken by him, but India seemingly on the same page as that of Abe.
Actually, Japan benefited from all these reforms, and India benefited the most. The bullet train, the road infrastructure, the Kyoto-Varanasi Pact, allowing Indian construction workers and nursing specialists to come to work in Japan. These are all the many major things which happened under Abe's regime for India. And Japan need a self-defense force because Japan's constitution written after the World War never had army to support against the attack of its enemies. But in this new era, Abe was very bold enough to do it. And I think there were some repercussions expected on that. But majorly, after that also, he won handsomely 2 times. And he's the longest serving Prime Minister of Japan and first to be born after the World War II. And his maternal grandfather was also the Prime Minister of Japan. And he's from a very high respected family in Japan. That's his background.
Right. Captain Bansal, now Japan, since Abe especially, has been committed to an exclusively defense-oriented policy under the pacifist constitution, though its defense spending has been limited to around 1% of the GDP, and even so, Japan's military spending is 7th in the world.
See, Japan is a big economy, and that fact must be understood. It is still the third largest economy of the world. And obviously, so that 1% is still very high. And that's why we see a huge expenditure. But as I said, the constitutional mandate in Japan precludes its ability to indulge in certain military activities, and Shinzo Abe was trying to get Japan out of that pacifist mold. And that is one of the reasons that we could probably attribute to his attack on his life, which probably now, as of now, the inputs coming is that the vitals are not functioning. So that's as good as seems that we have lost him, more or less. So that's a sad part. And any other reason at this juncture to think of why, unless of course he's some psychopath or something, why should somebody target a respected person like him?
Yes.